Not every leader is loud. Not every influencer takes the spotlight. And not every voice needs to shout to be heard. Welcome to the Influential Introvert, How to Thrive and Lead in a World That Can't Stop Talking. This book is your permission slip and your guide to lead, to succeed, and to be fully yourself without pretending to be someone you're not. If you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or out of place in a world built for extroverts, this is for you. You'll learn how to use your natural strengths, your depth, your thoughtfulness, your quiet power to influence with impact and lead with authenticity. Because introversion isn't a weakness, it's your edge. Let's rewrite the rules. Let's unmute the quiet power inside you. Your journey as an influential introvert begins now. The Influential Introvert, How to Thrive and Lead in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Forward. The narrative of leadership has for too long been dominated by a singular voice, the booming, assertive, and gregarious extrovert. This has created a pervasive and often unconscious bias, a belief that to lead is to be loud, to influence is to be outgoing. We are taught, often implicitly, that the path to success is paved with relentless self-promotion and a packed social calendar. But a quiet revolution is underway, a growing recognition that this model is not only incomplete, but often deeply flawed. This book is a testament to that revolution, a guide for those who have long felt that their more reserved nature is a liability in a world that can't stop talking. It is a celebration of the thoughtful, the observant, and the deeply reflective among us. The truth is, introverts are not just capable of leadership. They possess innate strengths that, when understood and harnessed, can make them exceptionally effective and influential leaders. This book is not about changing who you are. It is not a manual for faking extroversion or a guide to becoming the life of the party. To do so would be to deny your greatest strengths. Instead, it is an invitation to embrace your authentic self, to recognize the power that lies within your quiet nature, and to learn how to leverage those strengths to thrive and lead in any environment, on your own terms. We'll journey together through the science of introversion, moving beyond simplistic labels to understand the neurobiological roots of your temperament. We'll debunk the persistent myths that equate introversion with shyness, aloofness, or even a lack of confidence. Then we'll explore the unique advantages that introverted leaders bring to the table, their capacity for deep listening, their thoughtful decision-making, their ability to foster genuine connections, and their propensity for creativity and innovation born from solitude. This book is intensely practical. We'll provide actionable strategies for navigating the specific challenges that introverts often face, from the energy-draining reality of open-plan offices to the anxieties of public speaking and the perceived hurdles of networking. Through the stories of successful introverted leaders, from the pages of history to the boardrooms of today, you'll see that you are in good company. You'll learn how to manage your most precious resource, your energy, to communicate with quiet confidence, and to build the kind of influence that is not about being the loudest voice in the room, but the most resonant and respected one. This book is for the aspiring leaders who have been told they are too quiet, for the professionals who feel overlooked in a sea of extroverted colleagues, and for anyone who has ever doubted their ability to make an impact because of their introverted nature. It is time to rewrite the narrative of leadership. It is time for the influential introvert to rise. Chapter 1. The Introvert Advantage: Understanding Your Quiet Power. In a world that often equates loudness with confidence and sociability with strength, the term introvert has frequently been misunderstood, laden with connotations of shyness, social anxiety, or even aloofness. But what does it truly mean to be an introvert? And more importantly, what are the inherent strengths, the superpowers that come with this personality style? To unlock your potential, you must first understand the landscape of your own mind. Deconstructing introversion, beyond the stereotypes. The concept of introversion and extroversion was first popularized by the renowned psychologist Carl Jung in the early 20th century. Jung's theory posits that these are not rigid binary categories, but rather two ends of a spectrum of how we gain and direct our energy. Most people are ambiverts, falling somewhere in the middle, but for those who lean towards one side, the difference is profound. Extroverts are energized by the external world, by social interaction, activity, and external stimuli. They're like solar panels, soaking up the energy of the environment around them. After a long week, their ideal way to recharge is often to go out with friends. Introverts, conversely, draw energy from their internal world of thoughts, feelings, and ideas. They're like rechargeable batteries. Social engagement and external stimuli drain their energy, and they require solitude and quiet to replenish their reserves. It's not that introverts dislike people or social situations. They simply have a finite amount of social energy. After that same long week, their ideal way to recharge is more likely a quiet evening with a book, a walk in nature, or a deep conversation with one or two close friends. It is absolutely crucial to distinguish introversion from shyness. Shyness is the fear of social judgment. Social anxiety is a more intense, clinical fear of social situations. An introvert may not fear social interaction at all. They may be witty, engaging, and confident in social settings. They simply find these interactions costly from an energy perspective and need to retreat to their inner world to recover. A shy person might avoid a party out of fear, while an introvert might skip the same party simply because they know it will leave them feeling depleted. The science behind your solitude. In recent decades, neuroscience has provided fascinating insights that validate the core tenets of Jung's theory. The differences are not just in behavior, they are hardwired into our brains. One of the key differences lies in our response to dopamine, the reward neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, risk-taking, and novelty. Research by scientists like Dr. Scott Barry Kaufman has shown that extroverts have a less sensitive dopamine reward system. They need more of it to feel good, which drives them to seek out external stimulation, new people, new places, and exciting experiences. Introverts, on the other hand, are highly sensitive to dopamine. A large dose can feel like overstimulation, leading to anxiety and overwhelm. This is why a loud, crowded concert might feel exhilarating to an extrovert, but jarring and exhausting to an introvert. Introverts don't need that massive external hit to feel rewarded. Instead, the introvert's brain seems to favor a different neurotransmitter, acetylcholine. This chemical is linked to internal rewards, like thinking deeply, reflecting, and accessing long-term memory. The acetylcholine pathway is longer and more complex than the dopamine pathway, which might explain why introverts enjoy and are good at deep, focused concentration. When you're lost in a book or working through a complex problem, you are in the acetylcholine zone. Furthermore, brain imaging studies have shown that introverts tend to have more gray matter in their prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for abstract thought, planning, and decision-making. This suggests a neurobiological predisposition for the deep thinking and careful consideration that are hallmarks of the introverted temperament. The superpowers of the introverted mind. Once we move beyond the stereotypes and understand the true nature of introversion, we can begin to appreciate the unique strengths that introverts bring to the table. These are not weaknesses to overcome, but rather superpowers to be identified, honed, and harnessed. Deep thinking and problem solving. In a world of shallow takes and rapid-fire responses, the introvert's ability to focus for long periods is a tremendous asset.
Chapter 2. The Quiet Leader. Redefining the Archetype. The traditional image of a leader is a charismatic, outgoing figure who commands attention, rallies the troops with stirring speeches, and thrives in the spotlight. Think of a figure like Tony Robbins or Richard Branson. While this extroverted style of leadership can certainly be effective, it represents only one narrow band in the broad spectrum of leadership. A quieter, more understated approach, often favored by introverts, can be equally, if not more, impactful, especially in today's knowledge-based economy. What is quiet leadership? Quiet leadership is not about being silent, passive, or invisible. It is a leadership style characterized by a focus on listening, empathy, humility, and thoughtful empowerment. Quiet leaders don't seek the spotlight for themselves. Instead, they shine it on their team members. Their authority stems from deep respect and earned trust, not from dominance or control. This leadership model, championed by thinkers like Susan Cain and supported by research from academics like Adam Grant at Wharton, shows that introverted leaders often get better results from proactive employees. Why? Because they are more likely to listen to and implement their team's suggestions. An extroverted leader might, conscious or not, get so excited by their own ideas that they dominate the conversation, leaving little room for others' contributions. A quiet leader creates the space for those ideas to emerge and flourish. Quiet leadership is about leading from behind, giving people the autonomy and support they need, then getting out of their way. Servant leadership, prioritizing the growth and well-being of their team and the organization over personal acclaim. Thoughtful decision-making, resisting the pressure to make snap judgments, instead gathering data, soliciting diverse opinions, and reflecting before committing to a course of action. Calm in the storm, acting as a stable, grounding force during times of uncertainty and crisis. The proven benefits of leading quietly. The quiet leadership style offers a multitude of advantages that can lead to a more engaged, innovative, and resilient team. It empowers and engages team members. By stepping back and creating space, quiet leaders empower their employees to take ownership of their work. This fosters a sense of psychological ownership and accountability, which are powerful drivers of engagement and motivation. When employees feel their ideas are genuinely valued, their performance soars. It fosters a culture of inclusivity and psychological safety. Quiet leaders are natural architects of psychological safety, the belief that one can speak up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes without fear of punishment or humiliation. By actively listening to everyone, not just the loudest voices, they ensure that a wider range of perspectives is heard, including those from other introverts, remote workers, or junior staff. This inclusivity leads to better ideas and more creative problem-solving. It improves decision-making.
In our fast-paced world, there is immense pressure to be decisive, but speed without accuracy is useless. Quiet leaders resist this pressure. They take the time to gather information, listen to dissenting opinions, which they see as valuable data, not a threat, and analyze all the options. This thoughtful, deliberative process leads to more robust and effective long-term outcomes. It builds deep trust and enhances communication. The emphasis on listening, empathy, and humility builds strong bonds of trust between leaders and their teams. When employees trust their leader, communication becomes radically more open and honest. Problems are surfaced earlier, feedback is received more gracefully, and collaboration becomes more seamless. It models humility and continuous learning. Quiet leaders demonstrate humility by acknowledging they don't have all the answers and by readily giving credit to others. This models a culture of respect and continuous learning, where it's safe to be vulnerable, admit mistakes, and focus on collective growth. Case studies in quiet power. History and the modern business world are filled with examples of profoundly successful introverted leaders who have made a lasting impact through their quiet and thoughtful approach. Abraham Lincoln, renowned for his quiet, melancholy, and contemplative nature, Lincoln was a masterful listener. During the Civil War, he assembled a team of rivals in his cabinet, composed of men who were his political opponents. An extroverted leader might have struggled with the constant debate and clashing egos. Lincoln, however, had the quiet confidence and patience to listen to all of them, absorb their arguments, and synthesize their differing views into a cohesive strategy. His leadership was defined by careful consideration and a deep, unwavering sense of purpose, not by charismatic flair. Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, is a classic example of an introverted leader. In the early days of Microsoft, he was known for his legendary Think Weeks, where he would retreat to a secluded cabin with stacks of books and papers to simply read and think. He understood that his greatest contributions came not from rallying the troops, but from deep, uninterrupted strategic thought. He had the self-awareness to surround himself with more extroverted partners, like Steve Ballmer, who could handle the external-facing aspects of the business, while he focused on the long-term vision and technology. Rosa Parks, the mother of the civil rights movement, was a quiet, reserved, and soft-spoken seamstress. Her world-changing act of defiance on a Montgomery bus was not a loud, fiery protest, but a quiet, principled stand. Her memoir is aptly titled, "Quiet Strength." She demonstrates that influence does not require volume. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, is a model of introverted decision-making. His entire investment philosophy is built on avoiding the frenetic, emotional noise of the market. He doesn't follow the herd or get swept up in speculative bubbles. Instead, he spends the majority of his day sitting in his office, reading and thinking. His success comes from his patient, analytical, and deeply rational approach, all hallmarks of the introverted mind at work. These examples demolish the myth that introversion is a barrier to leadership. In fact, in a world that is increasingly complex and distracting, the introverted leader's capacity for focus, deliberation, and genuine connection may be more valuable than ever before.
Chapter 3. The Art of Quiet Confidence from Self-Doubt to Self-Assurance. Confidence is often misequated with extroverted behaviors, being loud, assertive, and commanding the center of attention. This narrow, performative definition can leave introverts feeling as though confidence is a trait they inherently lack, a costume they are unable to wear convincingly. However, true, sustainable confidence is not about external bravado.
It is an internal state of belief in oneself and one's abilities. For introverts, building confidence is not about faking extroversion, but about embracing their authentic selves and cultivating a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth. Redefining confidence on your own terms. The first and crucial step for an introvert is to consciously reject the societal stereotype of confidence and redefine it on your own terms. Quiet confidence is not a lesser form of confidence. It is simply different. It is calm, steady, and rooted in substance rather than style. Confidence for an introvert might look like speaking less, but knowing that when you do speak, your words have weight and value. Trusting your own judgment after a period of careful reflection, even if it goes against the popular opinion. Feeling empowered to set and enforce boundaries, such as declining a social invitation to protect your energy without guilt. Having the courage to share your well-considered ideas in a meeting, even if your voice shakes a little. Embracing your quiet nature as a core part of your identity, rather than seeing it as a flaw to be fixed. Quiet confidence is not about needing to prove yourself to others. It's about knowing your own worth, independent of external validation. Overcoming the inner critic and imposter syndrome. Many introverts, with their rich inner lives and penchant for self-reflection, can also be prone to a harsh inner critic and a debilitating sense of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the persistent feeling of being a fraud, of not deserving your accomplishments, and the fear of being exposed as incompetent. It thrives in the fertile ground of an introvert's mind, which is constantly analyzing and questioning. Here are practical cognitive strategies for taming your inner critic and building inner strength. Acknowledge and externalize the voice. When you hear that negative self-talk, "You're not smart enough for this. Everyone knows more than you do," don't just try to ignore it. Instead, acknowledge it. Give it a name, like the critic or Mr. Doubter. By externalizing it, you separate the voice from your true self. It's not you thinking it, it's the critic talking. This creates psychological distance and reduces its power. Challenge it with evidence, cognitive reframing. Your inner critic deals in sweeping emotional generalizations. Your superpower is rational analysis. Use it. When the critic says, "You're going to fail this presentation," counter it with specific evidence. "I have prepared for 10 hours. I know the material better than anyone else. I have successfully given presentations before. I have valuable insights to share." Keep a brag file or a list of your accomplishments, big and small, that you can refer to when you feel like an imposter. Shift from what if to what is. The inner critic thrives on anxious future casting. What if they ask a question I can't answer? Pull yourself back to the present moment and the facts. What is true right now is that I am prepared. What is true is that I have a plan. Embrace good enough. Introverts can be perfectionists, which fuels imposter syndrome because nothing ever feels perfect. Give yourself permission to be human. Aim for excellence, not perfection. Submitting a good enough report on time is better than submitting a perfect one a week late. The power of preparation. For introverts, confidence is often a direct result of preparation. While an extrovert might feel confident in their ability to improvise and think on their feet, an introvert derives confidence from knowing they have done the work. Preparation is not a crutch, it's a launching pad. Before a meeting, don't just show up. Read the agenda, formulate your thoughts on each item, and even write down 1 or 2 key points you want to make. Knowing exactly what you want to say removes the anxiety of having to formulate a brilliant thought on the spot. Before a networking event, research the attendees on LinkedIn. Prepare 3 open-ended, interesting questions you can ask anyone, such as, "What's the most exciting challenge you're working on right now?" Having a plan transforms the event from a terrifying social free-for-all into a series of manageable conversations. Before a presentation, practice, practice, practice. But don't just memorize. Internalize the key messages. The more you know your material, the less you'll rely on a script, and the more you will feel authentic. Your confidence will come from your mastery of the content. Projecting confidence with quiet body language. You don't need to have a booming voice or expansive gestures to appear confident. Calm, deliberate body language can project immense authority. Take up space calmly. You don't need to gesticulate wildly, but avoid making yourself physically small, hunching over, crossing your arms tightly. Sit or stand with a straight but relaxed posture. Rest your hands calmly on the table or at your sides. The power of the pause. In conversation, resist the urge to fill every silence. When asked a question, it's perfectly acceptable to take a moment to think. A deliberate pause before you speak signals thoughtfulness and makes your eventual words seem more impactful. Maintain gentle eye contact. You don't need an intense, unwavering stare. Practice making eye contact for a few seconds at a time while you're listening, then briefly looking away as you gather your thoughts. This conveys engagement without feeling aggressive. Building confidence as an introvert is a deeply personal journey of self-discovery, self-compassion, and strategic preparation. It's about quieting the external noise and the internal critic, and learning to trust the strength that lies within. Chapter 4. Communication for the Contemplative. Making your voice heard. For many introverts, the modern communication landscape can feel like a foreign country with baffling customs. The emphasis on rapid-fire brainstorming, constant interruptions, and performative speaking can be at odds with the introvert's more deliberate and reflective style. The fear is not of communication itself, but of not being able to communicate effectively in a world that won't slow down. However, the goal is not to mimic extroverted communication styles, but to master your own. By leveraging your natural strengths, you can become a powerful and influential communicator. Part 1. The Power of the Written Word. While verbal communication often gets the spotlight, introverts have a natural superpower in written communication. Writing allows for the thoughtful deliberation that introverts crave. It provides the space to organize thoughts, refine arguments, and express complex ideas with precision and nuance, free from the pressure of an immediate response. Mastering email and messaging. Don't treat emails or Slack or Teams messages as throwaway comments. Use them as a tool for influence. A well-crafted, thoughtful email that follows up on a meeting can often have more impact than a comment made in the heat of the moment. Summarize your thoughts, propose a clear path forward, and offer well-reasoned arguments. This creates a written record of your contribution and allows others to engage with your ideas on a deeper level. The pre-meeting memo. A game-changing strategy for introverts is the pre-meeting memo. If you have significant ideas to contribute to an important meeting, don't wait to try and squeeze them into the live discussion. Write a brief, one-page memo outlining your perspective, data, and recommendations, and send it to the attendees 24 hours in advance. This pre-wires the room with your ideas, allowing you to become a reference point in the conversation rather than a late entrant. Part 2. Mastering meetings. Meetings can be particularly challenging for introverts, as they can be dominated by more assertive voices and move at a dizzying pace. Success requires a strategic approach. Preparation is non-negotiable. As discussed in the previous chapter, this is your foundation. Review the agenda and identify the 1 or 2 most important places where your contribution is needed. Prepare your talking points, including the exact phrasing you might use. The early interjection. The longer you wait to speak in a meeting, the harder it becomes. The pressure builds. Make a goal to speak within the first 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a groundbreaking insight. It can be a clarifying question, like, "Can you say more about the timeline for that?" Or, "I agree with Sarah's point, and the data from our recent survey supports that." This breaks the ice for yourself and establishes you as an active participant. The power of the pause. Don't be afraid to use silence. When the conversation is chaotic, a quiet, thoughtful leader who lets the noise subside and then speaks in a calm, measured tone can command the entire room's attention. Leverage the listen, synthesize, summarize technique. Your listening skills are your greatest asset. While others are busy talking, you are observing the entire conversation. Your unique contribution can be to synthesize the different threads. You can say something like, "It sounds like we have 2 main camps here. Group A believes we should prioritize speed, while Group B is more concerned with quality control. Have I captured that correctly? Perhaps the next step is to evaluate the risks of each approach." This demonstrates deep listening and provides valuable clarity, positioning you as a leader. Part 3. Public speaking without panic. The fear of public speaking is common, but for introverts, the thought of being the sole center of attention for a large group can be uniquely terrifying. The key is to reframe the task from a performance to a conversation or an act of sharing. Focus on your message, not yourself. The primary source of anxiety is often self-consciousness. What will they think of me? What if I mess up? Shift your focus entirely to your message and your audience. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I want this audience to know, feel, or do after my talk? And how can I be of service to them? This transforms your anxiety into a sense of purpose. You are not there to be judged. You are there to give a gift to the audience, the gift of your knowledge and perspective. Know your first and last 60 seconds cold. The beginning and end of a speech are the moments of highest anxiety and greatest impact. If you know exactly how you're going to start and exactly how you're going to finish, it provides a stable framework that frees you up to be more natural in the middle. Find a few friendly faces. Scan the audience and find 2 or 3 people who are smiling or nodding. Speak to them as if you are having a one-on-one conversation. This creates a sense of connection and makes the large crowd feel less intimidating. Embrace your authentic style. You do not need to be a high-energy, arm-waving, motivational speaker to be effective. If your natural style is calm, thoughtful, and even a bit serious, embrace it. Authenticity is more compelling than forced enthusiasm. A calm, passionate delivery can be incredibly powerful. Think of TED Talks by speakers like Susan Cain or Bill Gates. Their power comes from the substance of their ideas, not from theatricality. Chapter 5. Networking on your own terms, building authentic connections. For many introverts, the word networking conjures up a nightmare scenario, a loud, crowded room filled with strangers, the pressure of making small talk, and the transactional feeling of collecting business cards. It can feel inauthentic, exhausting, and deeply unnatural. But networking, at its core, is simply about building relationships. If you redefine it on your own terms, you can turn a source of dread into a source of genuine connection and opportunity. Redefining networking, from schmoozing to connecting. The first step is to discard the extroverted ideal of networking, working a room, meeting dozens of people, and being the life of the party. This, for an introvert, is a recipe for burnout. Instead, redefine networking as a series of one-on-one conversations aimed at mutual understanding and help. Quality over quantity. This is the introvert's mantra. Your goal at any event is not to meet everyone, but to have one or two meaningful conversations. A deep 15-minute conversation with one person is infinitely more valuable than 15 superficial one-minute conversations. Be a host, not a guest. This mental shift, suggested by author and entrepreneur Derek Sivers, can be transformative. Instead of walking into an event thinking, I hope someone interesting talks to me, walk in thinking, I wonder if there's someone here who looks a little uncomfortable, who I could go and make feel welcome. This shifts your focus from your own anxiety to the well-being of others, which is a more comfortable and purposeful position for many introverts. Focus on giving, not getting. Transactional networking, what can this person do for me, feels slimy and is often ineffective. Approach every conversation with a genuine curiosity and a desire to help. Ask questions like, what are you working on that you're excited about? Or, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? Listen for opportunities to offer a helpful suggestion, an article you've read, or an introduction to someone else you know. This builds goodwill and lays the foundation for a real relationship. A strategic approach to networking events. Even with the right mindset, a large event can be overwhelming. A strategic plan can make all the difference. The pregame. Do your homework. Look at the guest list if it's available. Identify 2 or 3 people you genuinely like to meet. Read their LinkedIn profile or a recent article they've written. Having a specific target and a prepared opening line, like, I really enjoyed your article on X, is far less intimidating than walking in cold. The arrival. Don't arrive late when the room is already at peak volume and everyone is in established conversation groups. Arrive early. The room is quieter, the groups haven't formed yet, and it's much easier to strike up a conversation with someone who is also standing alone. The scout and retreat method. You are a rechargeable battery. You do not have to be on for the entire 2 hours. Give yourself permission to take breaks. Have a good conversation, then retreat to a quiet corner, the restroom, or even step outside for a few minutes to decompress and let your energy levels recover. This allows you to re-engage with more focus and less stress. Position yourself strategically. The center of the room is often the most chaotic. The edges are where the magic happens for introverts. Position yourself near the bar or the food table. This gives you a natural reason to be there, and people will inevitably come to you, making it easier to start a conversation. Leveraging the introvert's natural strengths. The power of one-on-one. While you may be at a large event, your goal is to create a series of private one-on-one conversations. Use your exceptional listening skills. Ask thoughtful, open-ended questions. People are not used to being truly listened to, and when you give them your full, undivided attention, you make a powerful and memorable impression. Digital networking. Don't underestimate the power of networking from behind a screen. For many introverts, this is a more comfortable and effective arena. Engage thoughtfully on platforms like LinkedIn or Twitter. Share interesting articles, comment intelligently on others' posts, and send personalized connection requests. You can build a strong, authentic network without ever having to endure a crowded cocktail party. The follow-up. This is where introverts can truly shine. After meeting someone, send a personalized follow-up email the next day. Reference something specific from your conversation to show you were listening. If you promise to send an article or make an introduction, do it. This thoughtful, reliable follow-through builds trust and solidifies the connection in a way that a fleeting conversation rarely does. Networking for introverts is not about becoming someone else. It's about creating a system that honors your natural temperament while still allowing you to build the relationships you need to succeed. It's about depth, authenticity, and quiet, consistent effort. Chapter 6. Energy Management, the Introvert's Ultimate Productivity Hack. For an introvert, energy is the most precious and finite resource. In a world that prizes constant connectivity and high-stimulus environments, understanding and proactively managing your energy is not just a self-care strategy. It is the single most important factor for sustained productivity, well-being, and success. An extrovert might measure their day by tasks completed. An introvert must also measure it by energy expended and recovered. Ignoring this internal calculus is a direct path to burnout. Understanding the introvert hangover. Every introvert is familiar with the feeling. After a day of back-to-back meetings, a loud conference, or a long party, you feel a profound sense of depletion that goes beyond simple tiredness. It's a feeling of being mentally drained, irritable, and almost physically heavy. This is the introvert hangover. It's the result of your brain being overstimulated by dopamine and your energy reserves being completely drained. Recognizing the signs of an impending hangover is the first step. For you, it might be a feeling of mental fog, a desire to snap at people, or a complete inability to focus. When you feel these signs, it's your body's emergency alert system telling you that you need to retreat and recharge immediately. Pushing through it is like continuing to drive your car when the fuel light is blinking. You will eventually break down. Conducting a personal energy audit. To manage your energy, you first need to understand your unique patterns. Take a week and keep an energy journal. At the end of each day, or even several times throughout the day, rate your energy level on a scale of 1 to 10. Then note the activities you were just engaged in. You will quickly see a clear pattern of your personal energy drainers and rechargers. Common energy drainers for introverts. Large social gatherings, small talk, open-plan offices with constant interruptions, conflict or highly emotional situations, being on for long periods like leading a full-day workshop, noisy, chaotic environments. Common energy rechargers for introverts. Solitude and silence. Engaging in a creative hobby, reading, writing, painting, spending time in nature, deep one-on-one conversation with a trusted friend, listening to music with headphones, focused, deep work on a meaningful project. Once you have this personal data, you can begin to architect your life for optimal energy. Strategies for proactive energy management. Energy management should not be reactive, it must be proactive. Don't wait until you're completely drained to recharge. Integrate recovery into the very fabric of your day and week. Schedule your solitude. Treat your alone time as a non-negotiable appointment with your most important colleague, yourself. Block out recharge periods in your calendar. This might be 15 minutes between meetings, your lunch break, or the first hour after you get home from work. Protect this time as fiercely as you would a meeting with your CEO. Design your ideal week. Look at your calendar not just in terms of time, but in terms of energy. If you know you have a high-drain day on Tuesday, for example, a conference, try to schedule a low-energy day on Wednesday with more focused solo work and fewer meetings. Don't stack all your high-drain activities on the same day. Alternate draining social tasks with restorative solo tasks. Create sanctuary spaces. Your environment has a massive impact on your energy. At work, if you're in an open-plan office, noise-canceling headphones are your best friend. They are a universal symbol for "I am focused, please do not disturb." Find a quiet corner, an empty conference room, or a nearby coffee shop where you can retreat for an hour of focused work. At home, designate a specific chair, room, or corner of your home as your recharge zone. When you are in that space, it's a signal to yourself and your family that you are in recovery mode. Master the social dose. Think of your social energy like a prescription. You need to find the right dose. Learn to be strategic. You don't have to attend every party or after-work gathering. Choose the events that are most important for your career or relationships. It's also perfectly acceptable to make a cameo appearance. Go to the event for the first hour, have 1 or 2 good conversations, and then politely excuse yourself. A short, high-quality appearance is better than staying for hours and becoming drained and grumpy. Communicate your needs, gently but firmly. The people in your life, your boss, your colleagues, your partner, are not mind readers. They may not understand why you need to be alone. You don't have to give them a lecture on introversion, but you can communicate your needs in simple, direct terms. To your boss, "I do my best strategic thinking when I have a quiet block of time. I'd like to block out 2 hours on my calendar every morning for focused work." To your partner, "I've had a really draining day with people. I'd love to hear about your day, but I just need 20 minutes of quiet to decompress first." By viewing your energy as your most valuable professional asset and managing it with the same discipline you applied to your budget or your project, you can avoid the cycle of boom and bust. You will have more energy for the people and projects that truly matter, and you'll be able to bring your best, most thoughtful self to everything you do.